Rachna Ranade. She aggressively promoted L&T stocks, and when the stocks went down, she withdrew the video from YouTube.
If they're actually making money out of this strategy, why would they waste time to make content for you? How many of us see Warren Buffett making content 24/7?
They were gaining on the growth of the crypto market, but no one was talking about the perils of investing in crypto. And
Top of charts. There is one Fin-fluencer. So he manipulated and he only showed the profit days. And then again they came to know he has actually incurred 2.89 crores of loss.
भाई पीएस कहाँ लगाऊं?
भाई टीपिन लगा ले।
भाई टोस्टर।
भाई टीपिन। भाई
जुगाड़ हर जगह नहीं चलता। अपने स्टॉक्स को शॉक से बचाओ। ट्रेडिंग सीखना है तो स्टॉकग्रो पे आओ।
100x returns in 1 year. Or you want to make 8.7 crores in 15 years? I'm sure you must have come across videos and podcasts with such catchy headlines on the internet as we speak. My name is Abhinav Trivedi, ladies and gentlemen, and you're watching Mint's Alt View in association with Stockgro. And today, we are at IIM Bangalore, and we decode the subject of Fin-fluencers. Are Fin-fluencers Boon or Bane for the society? Are they genuinely demystifying finance, solving complex, jargonized topics? Or are they manipulating retail investors and duping them very slyly with money? We talk to future corporate managers, brand managers, future bankers, and ask them this pertinent question about Fin-fluencers. Let's go and find out some answers. Okay, hello, I am Bangalore. How are you guys? Today we'll be talking about financial content online, the role of some people in that genre of content, and whether it's good or bad. Before I begin, I would like to introduce my experts. We've got Ajay Lakhotia, who's the CEO and founder of Stockgro. Ajay.
Thanks, Abhinav. Guys, I had a very interesting journey, and because I'm at IIM Bangalore, I would love to touch upon this. I started as an entrepreneur. I became a consultant after that, then investment banking, venture capitalist for 10 years. And now I'm back to building another startup.
So I'm Anirudh Dhawan. I teach finance and I research on investor behavior in financial markets.
Now, let me be very frank in this conversation. How many of you watch financial content online? Just raise your hands. Just a number count. All of you almost. Now, have you heard of financial influencers? Who's your favorite financial influencer? Finance with Sharan. Rachna Ranade. Moneypulse.com. Okay. Oh, he's a lookalike. Oh yeah. I just realized that. Yeah. Who else? Akshat Srivastava. Who else? Yeah. Who? Label advisor. What is you like about influencers? I mean, do you think they are filling a market gap or something? Or how do you find them better than conventional, finance advisors?
They are actually filling the gap that we lack financial education in our till undergrads as well. So basically, right out you come to the first job and you really don't know what's happening. You just like Zomato. You like it and you invest it. You don't know if it's making money or not. So they are at least building that gap of financial education to actually invest in a market.
They are breaking down the complex concepts into very simpler and educating the masses by creating engaging content.
Okay.
So influencers itself is a very big profession that is becoming nowadays. And so there are a lot of people who are unemployed. So in that way, it is actually helping curb unemployment, and people are able to create their content, create their channels, and that is giving them a lot of money as well.
the technical financial knowledge comes from the books, but books are very boring, right? So the gap that Fin-fluencers build is that they take that boring stuff out of the book and then educate the public about that so that they can also learn and invest and grow their money.
I would like to share my personal experience, not just opening a demat account or buying my first stock. But just last week, I filed my first ITR using the help of a financial influencer. And I strongly believe that they bridge a significant gap. They form communities, they solve queries on the internet, and they ensure that the financial gap is bridged.
In a country like India, where finance is not even discussed with relatives or friends, like they have started the conversation about a taboo topic. Like finance was not even discussed, and now we have open conversations about what to do, where to invest, and that is a big deal, I think.
The imparting of knowledge, this is only the rosy daisy side of the conversation, but actually all of this comes with a caveat. More often than not, the dark side of this is that they are trying to sell you a product. More often than not, it's a course or it's some option strategy or something along those lines. And many of these influencers, they already are, they have already had ties and dealerships with companies to push it, like simply pump and dump.
There is one recent case, pop-up charts. There is one influencer. So he manipulated and he only showed the profit days. And because of that, people thought that, okay, I'll be able to make 200, 300 times profit. And they subscribed to the Telegram channel. And then again, they came to know he has actually incurred 2.89 crores of loss. So there was no profit at all. But then he was manipulating the masses.
There is one more trend which is following up, that if they give any wrong advice, they themselves end up deleting that video, or else they themselves end up contradicting themselves. Like one person told during COVID that Nifty will come down to 6,000. Similarly, crypto was promoted very aggressively. People were everybody, including Rachna Ranade, was telling that government can print how much ever money it wants, but that is not the case with crypto. Crypto is good. Like there's all these kind of things. But we know what happened with FTC. After FTC, crypto is now dead. Many people lost money because of that. They even IPO companies which are coming for IPOs are also bribing these influencers and telling them to manipulate the company's history, or else the opportunity which they see in the future in such a way that it looks good and people can jump into the wagon.
Now, Ajay, I'll come to you. You heard what the students had to say. Their opinions on both sides. At one point, they are filling a gap of de-jargonizing complex financial subjects. And on the other hand, there has been some manipulation. We see both sides of the curve.
I agree to most of you that financial education is something which is missing in our whole ecosystem, and I'll emphasize more on this. When you are in your primary, secondary school, in your college, no one teaches you finance numbers. Your family doesn't teach you how to invest money. They teach you how to save money. So this is something which is non-existent, and this is a gap that most of the finfluencers are filling. In India, retail participants are only 5% of the total population who actually invest money in market. So the rest of the 95% don't even know what to do with their savings and how to go about the investment journey. This gap needs to be addressed, but not just be addressed by finfluencers, simply because finfluencers have capability on some very limited subjects. We had a count, and I was looking at all these guys. I think at best we counted 5 finfluencers, right? If you look at people in cosmetics and beauty, right, the number of influencers would be more than 100, and you'll be able to count that. That also gives you an understanding that the subject itself is so complex. The number of influencers who are actually covering this are just about 5 or 6. We should have more people out there. What is also interesting is sometimes some of these guys go out and start selling greed instead of telling you what are the pitfalls. And because they don't do this, people fall. People generally start following them on WhatsApp and Telegram. Good part is we are all aware कि हमें ये नहीं करना चाहिए, but we still go and do this.
I do agree like that, of course there's a gap in financial literacy which they're filling, and I think a couple of points that were brought out about how they go about it. I think that is the key to their success, right? It's very boring to read a 500-page book on valuation. It's a lot cooler to look at charts all day and call yourself an options trader, right? And that's something that these influencers have identified.
Let's get into content, because that is what finfluencers are thriving on, right? Now, which is your favorite advertisement in the BFSI space? Any advertisement which has stayed with you? Just tell me what they thrived on, not the ad per se.
In my view, most famous is जिंदगी के साथ भी जिंदगी के बाद भी.
Okay. Emotion again, yeah.
One more is mutual fund. Sahi hai. They are basically telling that mutual fund is a good thing and you always invest in that. So that ad has made the most impact.
I think it was more with fear factor, like when you do those life insurance premiums, right? So when they give those ads, they tell you that if you don't do this, if this can happen, then maybe I saw one ad where this person went to heaven and then he was told that why did you not do this? They are now in plight, right? So you should have done this life insurance premium. So it plays with your fear, which encourages you to do the right thing before something happens to you unprecedented.
Do you guys feel that financial ads generally thrive on fear, insecurity, and inadequacy? Do you feel so? Now let's turn the tables, okay? What was the emotions, or what was the singular most highlighted emotion which Fin-fluencers tapped on? Greed. And why do you guys say so? Greed. Raise your hands to say greed. Yeah, why do you say greed?
So they were branding themselves in such a way that if you listen to me and you are able to make this much money, and you'll be ahead of the crowd in this way. Similarly, people also started crossing the limits and told that don't be a broke man, be a Benz man at the age of 26. Many people don't even earn their degree at the age of 26, but I have earned a Benz. Someone tells you a 9 to 5 job is waste of time. Be like me, start your own business like that. You are paying more taxes, this country is waste, shift to Portugal or else.
They are also playing on our fear by instilling that fear that if you don't do this, you will be left out. Do this, you need to earn very high returns, and then people make wrong decisions.
You see all the thumbnails of these YouTube videos, it will always be, will the stock market crash? Will there be a bear run? So it is instilling on.
Okay, apart from greed, anything else? Comfort. Why do you say comfort?
Because everyone wants to reach that FIRE number really quickly. Till 40 you want to retire. How do you reach there quickly? Get rich.
Now, apart from fear, greed, anything else which Fin-fluencers according to you tap on? Emotion.
One big thing they tap on is FOMO, like the fear of missing.
Fear of missing out. It's fear largely. Now, if I talk about typical traditional BFSI players, they also by and large tap on the same emotions, right? So what's the difference? How do Fin-fluencers crack it, but not traditional BFSI players?
Somehow we feel that they are one of us. Like we can relate to them more.
Okay, relatability factor. Anything else?
So there is a famous quote by Warren Buffett. Wall Street is a place where people come in Benz and take advice from persons who come by bus. So we treat fund managers and other advisors from these BFSI companies of that quote.
Okay. Relatability. That was one emotion. Apart from relatability, anything else?
Influencers play on democratization of information, while BFSIs are very regulated. So they cannot say anything.
Fair point, yeah.
I believe the opaque nature of the stock market is the reason. And as we are talking about the education level, the people don't have that much information. So they are the only source that we can go to get the information firsthand.
Okay, yeah.
Two things. Fin-fluencers would be very unbiased. BFSI would be biased towards their companies. But at the same time, if suppose tomorrow a BFSI player sponsors a certain Fin-fluencers video, they'll again get biased. So we need to discern and differentiate between the two and know that who is giving you the right information and who is giving you information that is solely for their benefit. And one of the examples why I told Sharon, he started something called the 1% club. So where you can actually join, and he's telling that. So
it's basically relatability factors which Fin-fluencers get. Right. Am I correct? Yes or no? Yes. Let's talk about traditional players now, traditional BFSI players. What do you think they are lagging when it comes to communicating their products or services? Because they're eventually communicating the same thing. Do you think they lack relatability?
Yes, they do.
And why do you say so?
Because their content is not engaging and it's not personalized. And mentioning the example of Sharon Vichakde is very relatable. He's just like you.
Okay.
And I would also like to.
Okay.
I would also like to mention. I mentioned the idea of personalization, but at the same time, they create these groups that are very engaging as well with memes and all. Something that's very
relatability is far more. Yeah.
I think selling is a proposition that most of the BFSI advertisements or communications are focused on. So they are in a way pushing their product to you, and hence you try to run away from those advertisements or communications.
So you're saying BFSI traditional ones push their products as opposed to Fin-fluencers?
Which kind of wrap it more in terms of educating you, putting you the information, and then kind of push their product, say be it the 1% club or any other thing.
I think the target segment has been different for them. They have set very high thresholds. They underestimated the retail investors in India, basically.
Traditional BFSI players.
I think because they didn't feel that the market will, the retailer who was always supposed to be sleeping has come up in a big way after COVID, just because the ease of access has been given to him.
What influencers are selling you, and if you think of all the influencers you go and follow, they are selling you jugaad, and that's the reason most of us are able to connect to it. Kyun? Because it's in our blood. Kitni jaldi kitne shortcuts mile. Think of most of the guys who are selling you saying अगर आप ITR भर रहे हो, ITR में आपके पैसे आप इस तरह से बचा सकते हो. Now this is not something which a BFSI is gonna come and tell you that you are gonna save money in ITR returns. आप ये कर सकते हो. That's a hook that they get you on with, right? आपने वहाँ से follow करना चालू किया. What are they selling you? 90% of the influencers are again going back and selling you the same BFSI products. आपको वो वही बेच रहे हैं, but in a different way, because they have a longer airtime with you. वो आपके साथ बैठ के 5 मिनट बिता सकते हैं. A BFSI ad is 30-second ad. They only have that much messaging that they can give you. But they are exactly using the same influencers for selling their products. वो वही बेच रहे हैं.
There is one more problem with BFSI is that if influencer can compare some 5-6 products across different banks or different investment firms or different mutual fund companies and tell which is the best thing. But when you go to a bank or when you go to any AMC, they try to push the product which gives them most amount of commission. Like you see ULIPs. There is a hell lot of people are buying ULIPs. But the fact is that ULIPs are scam. And you need to pay 60,000 for 6 lakhs cover. So a influencer will alert you about these kind of things, and that is the reason why people develop more traction towards more trust towards a influencer compared to a BFSI.
Okay, now because he mentioned trust, I'd like to take your attention to Ravindra Balu Bharti. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of this influencer, Ravindra Balu Bharti? He was fined 12 crores by SEBI recently. Have you heard of Abhishek Kar? Have you heard of Ravi Sutanjani Kumar? You've heard of him? Now, these are also examples of influencers. So there is this side of influencer community as well, where they are duping people. So when you say there is trust, you can say it because you understand the subject. What about the people who don't understand anything about finance?
Between education and the sponsorship that they're doing, right? Even in some of the recent videos, I did some research that Ankur Wariku and even Akshat Srivastav, they were sponsoring a particular financial option, and that tanked, right? And many people lost their money. I think that is one part that we have to be very careful with. So there should be some regulation to check that. And second part is the accountability, right? How many of the influencers share their own portfolios, right? That if I'm promoting this option, I'm also doing this, right? One thing I think Akshat Srivastav, he does that. He shares his portfolio. But some of the other top influencers do not do that.
Yeah.
So that part needs to come into picture, right?
It is very evident that recently SEBI has also introduced a guidelines, a regulation wherein content creators are mandated to put an ad icon at the top. Yeah, disclaimer at the top. And so that is why I strongly believe that credibility is the key for all the content creators, and that is only when we can trust them.
You asked a while back about the emotions that they play on. I think one additional emotion is boredom, right? So that is something that COVID has changed, where people have a lot more time on their hands. So they are now Googling and going on YouTube and getting investment advice from there. Now, what can SEBI do? I think, to be honest, one thing that SEBI can do is make friends with these influencers, right? We've all identified that some of them are good and some of them want to do good and they have a large captive audience. Why not just collaborate with them and spread financial education?
अच्छा नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है कि भोले भाले सब लोग हैं और आप उनको जाके डूब कर रहे हो. You are getting duped because you are wanting to buy into that story of rags to riches in a month, right? And at the back of our mind, we all know कि it generally possible नहीं है. If it is too good to be true, maybe there's something wrong out there. Someone said credibility, right? It's not credibility, it's accountability. That is, if a influencer has built his credibility, the next thing now when he's trying to sell products, services, anything to you, he has to have accountability. That is, मैंने अगर आपको कुछ recommend किया है, either I have skin in the game or I have accountability. That is, if there's something that goes wrong, you can come back to me. That needs to be built, and I think that's the direction SEBI has taken, saying that accountability has to be there if you start selling products and services to people.
Let's be honest, if they're actually making money out of the strategy, why would they waste time to make content for you? Rather, they would be how many of us see Warren Buffett making content 24/7? We don't see, right? So that is a psychological loop. Because they have used a strategy, they did well in the beginning, but they failed. Now they have no other thing to do. So that is what they are doing. So this is something public should actually understand.
So I will just ask this question, and Ajay might not want to answer this. Do you think SEBI is actually doing a great job in regulating the market, but also balancing it with spreading financial awareness?
they are not doing it enough. Like the financial education system is not, it has to be rooted in our graduation days, also in our like primary education system itself.
So you are saying that they should teach finance in schools and colleges?
It should be included in the curriculum itself.
Okay.
So then only the real awareness will come.
I think there are regulations in SEBI which were already in place since so many years back, but the actioning that is being taken, that is not being taken properly. Like I have seen somewhere many influencers have done the scams, but only few bear the brunt, and some of them are just escaped because of their connections. So I think when you build a regulation, it should be there for each and everyone at the same level.
Where do Fin-fluencers need to raise their bar, and where do traditional BFSI players or maybe traditional communicators need to raise their bar?
Going back to the basics, I think when Fin-fluencers started during COVID, they really solved a market gap. I myself got into the financial markets with their help. But what happened is, when any market grows, Fin-fluencers started selling glitz much more than the grind. Fin-fluencers need to carve out their market. They need to tell people to increase their investable income, skill up in life, and then take safer bets. Maybe BFSI can go downstream and talk to us in our language which we can understand.
So I have to raise the attention to the fad that was there during the crypto, when the crypto was booming. During those days, the crypto influencers were doing great and they were trying to bring out the great content about crypto, but they were gaining on the growth of the crypto market, but no one was talking about the perils of investing in crypto. And once crypto and Bitcoin dived down after the FTX issue, everyone ran out of the market. So it's potentially, we can also see that these kind of influencers are real fads in the system. So we should be watch out for such kind of influencers who try to gain on certain short-term bets and then exit out of the system, and then the retail traders like us lose out on a big time money.
बस demystify करता हूँ influencer की life कैसी होती है, and I work very closely with a lot of them. Their life cycle or the life of the work that they are doing is 3 at max about 4 years. That is, after 4 years, there'll be someone else who will come in. They'll do much better quality content, and the other guys who are currently doing the content in finance sector, they'll start losing out. They have to work very hard to go back on a daily basis, find more engaging content. आज क्या नया बनाऊँ, आज किसको क्या अच्छा लगेगा. It can't continue throughout their life. And the challenge that they all face is, by the time I reach like the peak of my content quality and उसके बाद it starts going down, I have to start productizing. That is, मुझे उसके बाद कुछ और sell करना है. Once they get there, I think that sense of responsibility and accountability, if it kicks in, saying whatever I am selling is something which is responsible, selling to all my followers, it works. The challenge all of them faces just this 3 to 4 years of life in which they want to make the maximum amount of money.
Okay.
BFSI, one second. Sorry. BFSI, it is very simple for them. Today, all that everyone is selling is trust. Instead of selling trust, if they go back to selling products, right? कि इस product के merit और demerits क्या है, it will solve the problem for them.
So why do you think Fin-fluencers are a boon?
One of the reasons why Fin-fluencers are booming is thanks to the recent report published by the National Center for Financial Education, where only 27% of India's population is financially literate. And it is very much important. Just like Physics Wala was a go-to resource for JEE and NEET preparation, we need Fin-fluencers. We need them to educate us. There is a financial gap that is prevalent. And it is very inappropriate to tell that they are leading us into traps. But in fact, there are more families who have become financially more literate, financially more sufficient because of the influences that are available.
Great power comes great responsibility, and I think that is that responsibility that this Fin-fluencers in today's generations are actually holding. Because if you look at Sharan, or that CA woman who's actually making content, and if you look at all of our phone screen times, they span out to be around 7 to 8 hours or even more, right? And when we are actually looking at content that is actually educationally informative and that is helping us becoming better investors, better people to save money and grow money, then why not?
5 years ago, if you look at the CASA ratios of banks, they were around 51%. But today, most of the banks are struggling to maintain 40%. Because most of the money which was previously held in current account, saving account, fixed deposits is flowing towards stock markets. The other day, SEBI chairman Madhavi Puri Bach, even she was telling that people, you please buy gold, you please buy rates, don't indulge in stock market too much. The markets are speculative in nature. And we are also coming across one more trend that people are leaving their full-time jobs and indulging into trading, futures and options, intraday trading, and they are only looking for following the rosy pictures and leaving their full-time jobs. any influencer who is good should tell you that you please focus on your profession and make more money and invest, not the other way around.
Influencers would have been good if it would have been just about information and providing right and complete information. Do you really think within a bite-sized video of 30 to 60 seconds you can really cover the fundamentals and make your viewers, let your viewers make a informed choice? A lot of us get duped. Second thing is accountability. Again, we talked about Rachna Hegde, right? Rachna Ranade. She aggressively promoted L&T stocks, and when the stocks went down, she withdrew the video from YouTube. So when the person on whose advice you are relying on, so-called independent friend-like person, do you really think they are accountable enough to get back to you when things don't go the way they projected it?
Any advice, even doctor's advice, should be taken with personal discretion.
There are two particular trends. During COVID, there was one particular stock named Bombay Gases. Actually, everybody thought that company makes oxygen cylinders, but that is not into that business. Similarly, recently government has banned sugarcane export, and everybody thought ethanol stocks will get affected and started selling Praj. But in reality, Praj is not related to ethanol totally. Ethanol can be made from rice as well. So this kind of speculation is leading to get easy rich schemes.
There's no proper construed educational information that is provided by the government or any form of subjects or anything that we can actually study about, that is where it's important.
These influencers basically relate to the masses, and that's where the masses get influenced. It basically makes you invest and lets you go off your sanity.
There should be an amalgamation of both the influencers and the government together to work in collaboration and create a hub where they can actually create that accountability so that the trust is maintained.
Nobody is looking at majority are failing to observe the underlying logic.
Yeah, sure. So I found the Bane side more convincing because I felt, in the short term, it's probably the case that, it's too much too soon, right? So, and what ends up happening is that the retail investor ends up getting burnt.
Bane side was much better in their debating skills, right? So that's what I liked about them. While I personally feel that the influencers are serving a specific requirement out there in the ecosystem, they need to fill it in until institutions actually start coming down to that detailed conversation with the users, with the masses. But till then, influencers are definitely serving a requirement, a gap out there in the financial education ecosystem.
Students of IIM Bangalore have given their verdict. As far as Fin-fluencers are concerned, they need to up their game. But so do BFSI and traditional players. They need to speak in a far more de-jargonized manner than they have in the past. The debate whether who's better or who's not, who should stay or who should not, that is a debate for another day. Shabba khair. Bye-bye.
I pledge.
I pledge.
I pledge.
I pledge.
I pledge. I pledge. I pledge to learn about stock market. To start my SIP.
To track my finances.
To build an emergency fund.
To get insured.
To make informed trade decisions. To prioritize investing.
I pledge to be financially free.